Let me ask you something no one around you is brave enough to ask. Not your friends, not your family, not the people who smile and nod and tell you you'll know when you know. Right now, tonight, in whatever quiet corner of your life you're watching this, is there someone? Someone your mind keeps returning to like a compass needle finding north. Someone you can't quite explain, can't quite place, can't quite let go of. Someone whose name surfaces in your thoughts at 3 in the morning, in the middle of a crowded room, in the pause between one breath and the next. Because if there is, then what I'm about to share with you is going to cut through every romantic myth, every self-help cliche, every fairy tale you were handed as a child, and replace it with something far more powerful. The truth. Not the comfortable truth, not the version designed to make you feel warm and validated and safely unquestioned. The deep, ancient, sometimes terrifying truth that Carl Jung spent his entire life excavating from the layers of the human soul. The truth that lives beneath the stories we tell ourselves, beneath the masks we wear, beneath the carefully curated identity we present to a world that rewards performance and punishes vulnerability. Here at Carl Jung Philosophy, we don't deal in illusions. We deal in transformation. And what you are about to discover in the next few minutes may permanently alter how you see love, how you understand yourself, and how you interpret the people life keeps placing in your path. Sometimes gently, sometimes without any warning at all. So stay with me, because what comes next is not what you were expecting. And that, I promise you, is exactly the point. We were all given a map as children, a beautiful, detailed, deeply misleading map. That map told us a story, the story of the One. It whispered to us through every film we watched, every song we memorized, every love story we absorbed before we were old enough to question the premise. It told us that when the right person arrives, the world shifts entirely. The noise quiets. The restlessness settles. The missing piece clicks into place with a sound so satisfying, so complete, that you can barely remember what it felt like to be without it. This person, the map told us, would understand us without explanation, would see us without effort, would arrive like an answer to a question we didn't know we'd been asking. We were promised that loving them would feel effortless, natural, like breathing in a room that for the first time has enough air. And we went out into the world holding that map, trusting it, measuring every connection against its contours, quietly wondering what was wrong with us or with them whenever reality refused to match the illustration. But what if the map is wrong? What if the signs that life sends you toward the right person look nothing like what you were promised? What if they arrive not as comfort, but as confrontation? What if the most significant love of your life appears, and instead of everything immediately becoming easier, something in you immediately begins to crack open? Carl Jung understood something about love that most people spend entire lifetimes refusing to accept. He understood that the soul does not hunger for ease. It hungers for growth. It hungers for wholeness. And it will use the people it draws into your life as precise instruments of that transformation, whether you feel ready for it or not, whether you have asked for it or not. Today, we are going to look at the real signs, the ones your soul already recognizes, even if your conscious mind is still catching up. The ones that point not toward who will make your life easier, but toward who will make you more fully yourself. The first sign, and perhaps the most counterintuitive thing I will say today: the right person will not always make you feel safe. Not in the way you have been conditioned to expect safety to feel. Not in the soft, undisturbed, nothing will challenge you way that we have been taught to associate with love. Yes, there will be recognition. There will be that quality of bone-deep familiarity, as though some part of you has always known this person. As though their face is a word you have been trying to remember for years. Jung called this the projection of the anima or animus, the soul's own internal ideal reaching outward and finding what appears to be its reflection in another human being. That quality of coming home to a place you have never actually been before. But right alongside that warmth, sometimes more vivid than it, sometimes louder than it, something else is present. Disruption. This person unsettles you, not cruelly, not in a way that makes you feel small or inferior or wrong for existing, but in the way that a significant earthquake unsettles the ground, rearranging everything, yes, shaking loose everything that was only pretending to be stable, but revealing in the process what was always buried underneath, what was always real and waiting. They challenge the narrative you have been quietly carrying about who you are, the rigid self-definition you have been defending without realizing you were defending it, the walls you built so gradually you forgot they were walls and started calling them personality. In Zen tradition, a master will sometimes strike a student without warning, not as punishment, not as cruelty, but to shatter the habitual pattern of the student's thinking, to interrupt the comfortable sleep of a mind that has confused its limitations for its identity, to awaken something that had nearly been lost to the gentle anesthesia of routine. The right person does something similar to the architecture of your inner life. They awaken what you buried, the artist you sacrificed for practicality, the dreamer you quieted to be taken seriously, the rebel you suppressed to be acceptable, the passionate, unconventional, stubbornly alive version of yourself that you slowly learned to apologize for. Being in their presence is like a stone dropped into still water. The surface breaks, the reflection is disturbed, but watch what rises from the depths, the sediment, the hidden things, the forgotten treasures and buried questions that were waiting down there for exactly this moment. This is not chaos without purpose. This is not a warning sign to retreat from. This is sacred disruption. Your soul using another human being as the specific instrument required to crack open the next version of you. Drop 11. I am finally awake, and I choose to grow. In the comments right now. 11 is the number of awakening, the threshold moment, the instant before everything shifts into something it has never been before. If something in you is stirring as you watch this, if you feel that sacred disruption moving through you even now, then you already know what that number means. If there is someone in your life whose presence both draws you in and shakes you loose, if being with them makes you question comfortable assumptions, if they stir in you a longing to become something you have not yet dared to be, do not mistake that electricity for instability. That electricity is direction. That electricity is your soul pointing and saying clearly, "This way, grow this way." The second sign is perhaps the most intimate and the most revealing of everything life sends you. Every human being walking this earth is carrying something they keep concealed, not just from the world, from themselves. Jung called it the shadow, that dimension of the self where everything we were taught to suppress accumulates quietly over the years. The rage we find unacceptable, the jealousy that shames us, the neediness we mask with indifference, the grief that never fully completed itself, the fear we cannot bring ourselves to name, the parts of ourselves that we have, piece by piece, sentenced to an inner darkness, because somewhere along the way we decided they were too much, too raw, too threatening to be allowed into the light. We spend years, sometimes entire lifetimes, building the psychological architecture required to keep this shadow contained. We develop careful personas. We become virtuosos of the curated self, presenting only the acceptable surfaces while concealing everything we fear might, if truly seen, drive away the people we most need. And then that person arrives, and something begins to come undone. Not dramatically at first, not in a way you see coming, but in a moment of exhaustion, in the middle of an argument you didn't plan, in a night of vulnerability you couldn't manage your way out of. The door of that inner prison swings open, just slightly, and something raw and unfiltered stumbles into the space between you. Maybe it's your anger. Maybe it's the particular shape of your fear. Maybe it's the grief you've never let anyone witness. Maybe it's the deeply human, deeply inconvenient part of you that you have always believed was your most unlovable secret. And this is the moment that determines everything. In an ordinary connection, both people retreat. The one who revealed too much contracts in shame. The one who witnessed it pulls back in discomfort. The shadow returns to its cell. The relationship resumes its performance. But in the right connection, the encounter your soul has been moving toward, something different happens. They do not leave. They look at what just emerged from you, not with revision, not with the calculating withdrawal you always feared, not with the quiet judgment that says, "I didn't sign up for this," but with something that changes you at a level below language. Steadiness, curiosity, the particular unshakable quality of someone who has already met their own darkness and therefore is not threatened by yours. And in remaining, they say, without needing to say it, "I see this, all of this, and I am still here." This is what genuine love looks like beneath the surface. Not the meeting of two flawless selves, the meeting of two shadows, two complete, complex, sometimes frightening human beings, willing to hold a light for each other in the places where neither can see alone. Write 444. I am seen, shadows and all, and I am still worthy, below this video. 444 is the frequency of grounded truth, of being held without needing to perform. If someone has seen your most difficult edges and chosen to remain, or if you are finally ready to be seen that way, let that number be your declaration. You are not too much. You have never been too much. The third sign requires us to confront one of the most seductive myths culture has ever planted in the human heart: the myth of merging. We were told, through 1,000 films, 1,000 love songs, 1,000 breathless declarations, that the measure of true devotion is how inseparable you become. That real love collapses the distance between two people until the boundary between where one ends and the other begins dissolves entirely. It sounds like poetry. It feels, in the early heights of love, like transcendence. But Jung saw it with the clarity of someone who had spent decades mapping the interior of the human psyche, and what he saw was not transcendence. It was disappearance. A mutually agreed upon erasure dressed in the language of romance. He called each individual's journey toward their own authentic wholeness individuation, the sacred, unrepeatable, non-transferable process of becoming fully yourself. And he understood with certainty that this process cannot be completed through another person, cannot survive being absorbed into someone else's identity, their needs, their definition of who you should be. The right connection does not threaten your individuation. It honors it. It looks at the fullness of who you are, including the parts that have nothing to do with the relationship, and actively celebrates them. The right person does not need you to shrink to fit the relationship. They do not interpret your independence as rejection. They are not made smaller by your ambitions or threatened by your depth. The poet Rilke expressed it in words Jung would have recognized as psychological truth. The highest form of love is not merging, but protecting, two solitudes that shield and border and greet each other. Consider two great trees growing beside each other in a deep forest. Their roots may intertwine beneath the earth. They may sustain each other through drought. But their trunks are distinct. Their branches reach toward light in their own directions. Neither grows diminished in the shadow of the other. That is not a limitation of what exists between them. That is the love itself, mature, non-possessive, rooted enough to allow the other to be fully what they are. Not two halves finding wholeness in each other, two people who are already whole, choosing with full awareness to walk their separate roads in the same direction. Connected but not consumed, together but not diminished, devoted but never at the price of themselves. If the person in your life makes space for who you are becoming, if you can stand beside them and feel simultaneously the warmth of we and the freedom of I, then you are experiencing love in its most enduring, most psychologically alive form. Do not underestimate what it means to have found that. It is rarer than most people realize. And now we arrive at the center, the truth beneath all three signs. The right person is not a solution, not an answer, not the final piece that completes the puzzle and allows you to stop searching. The right person is a catalyst, the specific force that your soul requires to become who it has always been in the process of becoming. The presence that makes your deepest transformation not just possible, but inevitable. The relationship you build together is not a destination. It is a laboratory, an alchemical vessel, as Jung might have called it, in which two souls, through the friction of real encounter, through the discipline of honoring each other's wholeness while choosing each other daily, undergo a continuous and mutual transformation. The ego's rigidity, its defenses, its insistence on remaining unchanged, slowly, sometimes painfully, sometimes magnificently, transforms into something luminous, into the integrated self that Jung spent his life trying to describe. The one that has faced its own shadow and chosen wholeness over comfort, depth over convenience, the real over the manageable. This is why life sends you these three signs: sacred disruption, because the person you have settled for being is not the person your soul came here to become. The shadow's safe harbor, because wholeness requires being seen entirely, not selectively. You cannot integrate what you are still hiding. The reverence for two separate roads, because love that costs you yourself is not devotion. It is a slow and quiet disappearance. These signs are not proof that a person is flawless. They are not a guarantee that the path ahead will be effortless. They are something more valuable than both. Evidence that the encounter is genuine, that what is being asked of you and what you are being offered is transformation at the deepest level the soul can experience. Comment 777. I am whole within myself, and I call in what is meant for me right now. 777 is divine alignment, the universe confirming you are exactly where you are supposed to be, learning exactly what you are meant to learn in exactly the right moment. If these words have found you at the right time, let that number be your response. And now, at the edge of everything we have explored together, I want to leave you not with a conclusion, but with an invitation. Stop searching for someone to rescue you from yourself. Stop organizing your entire inner life around the hope of a future person who will finally make everything make sense. Stop measuring your wholeness by whether or not you have found the one, as though love is something that happens to you rather than something you become capable of. Turn inward instead, not as retreat, not as defeat, as the most radical, most loving preparation possible for everything that is coming toward you. Face your shadow. Sit with the parts of yourself you have been most afraid to acknowledge. Let them come into the light, not to be fixed or eliminated, but to be understood, integrated, freed from the darkness where shame has been keeping them. Begin your own individuation. Discover who you are when you are not performing for anyone. Discover what you want when you stop filtering your desires through the question of what others will approve. Build the relationship with yourself that you have been waiting for someone else to come and build for you. Because here is what Jung understood, and what Carl Jung philosophy has always sought to make available to those willing to do the real work. You do not attract who you want. You attract who you are. When you become someone who has met their own darkness and chosen wholeness, you stop drawing in people who need you to stay small. People who are unsettled by your depth. People who offer acceptance only within the careful boundaries of what they can manage. And you begin instead to draw in someone who recognizes you, because they recognize themselves in you. Someone who chooses you not out of need, but out of genuine witness. Someone who does not require you to be their rescue or their mirror, who simply and profoundly walks beside you. When that happens, when two people who have done the work of becoming themselves find each other, the love that results is not the love of fairy tales. It is something older than that, something truer. Something that does not need perfect lighting to be beautiful, because it is beautiful the way that real things are beautiful, with weight, with texture, with the irreplaceable gravity of something that was genuinely earned. The greatest love story of your life is not about finding someone. It is about becoming someone, and then from that wholeness, being truly and irreversibly found. That is what your soul has always been reaching toward. That is what Jung spent a lifetime trying to illuminate. And now I leave you with one question, the kind that does not resolve quickly, the kind that will quietly work on you long after this ends. What would your life look like if you stopped searching for the right person and committed fully to becoming one? Sit with that and know this: the courage it takes to turn inward, to face yourself with honesty, to choose growth over comfort, to love yourself with the depth you have been hoping to receive. That courage is not separate from love. It is love. The most essential love there is, the one from which every other form of love becomes possible. May your wholeness lead you home.